Welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. Today we're going to make beef bolognese. And a little history about beef bolognese is it came from the city of Bologna in northern Italy in the late 18th century. And there was a fella, Alberto Alvisi, that was the chef of the local cardinal. And I wouldn't even begin to try and pronounce his name because that would, it would be a complete fiasco. But he later became Pope Pius VII. And anyway, as it traveled on, later to the west, it came over with a lot of the Italian immigrants, and it became what is known today. And it's basically, it's a ragu, which is a meat sauce. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to make beef bolognese today, and this is definitely, not Alberto's recipe. That I believe has been long lost to history. But I'm going to make it pretty much the way that we make it today here in the United States. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is I've already sprayed this with a vegetable spray, but I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil in here, and we're going to let it heat up. And what we're going to do is we're going to saute some onions. We're going to sweat them to make sure that they're translucent. We're going to put some garlic in there, and we're going to cook that until it's fragrant. Then we're going to put a meat mixture in there, which in this case I'm using a pound of ground beef, 80-20, and a pound of ground pork. So once we get that in there, we'll put in some other things like some tomatoes and some spices, and we'll let the thing simmer and simmer and simmer. And while it's simmering, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our pasta. And I'm just using a pappardelle, I believe is the pronunciation, pasta for this. And that's more of a traditional Italian pasta, at least as far as I know. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's start by putting our onions. Now I want to stir these around until they've turned translucent and what's known as kind of sweat them, and that gets a lot of the water out of there. I also want to do this before I put the garlic in, because if I put the garlic in and saute it now, by the time I throw the onions in there and they sweat out, our garlic is going to be completely burnt. Give it a little bit more here. It's getting there. It's probably got another couple of minutes to go. We want to make sure that they're nice and softened and sweated out. Not too far caramelized. In other words, we don't want to caramelize them, but we want to get them somewhat close. And I think we're right about there. All right, now I want to take and I want to add a couple of cloves of garlic. Now we want to make sure We want to make sure that we keep stirring this, because the last thing we want to do is burn our garlic. And we just want to saute that until it becomes fragrant, or until you can get that nice garlic scent. There we go. All right, now it's time to put in our meat. And I'm going to start out with the pork, and just go ahead and saute it for a few minutes, and we'll go ahead and put in the beef. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my beef. Okay, I'm going to let this brown just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the lid on it, which will keep the heat in, so we'll go ahead and we'll cook it on through. So give me a couple minutes here, I won't make you wait, so be right back. Okay, it's getting brown here. And what I've been doing is I've been going ahead and chopping this up as I go, but I want to add a little salt and pepper. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, maybe about a half teaspoon of salt. That may be a little more. And a few grinds of pepper, and we'll let this finish browning. First, it's actually pretty good, but I am going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. Now, once we get all our spices and our tomatoes and all that in there, we may have to go back and we may have to add some more. But this will get us started and get us going. All right, now everything's nice and browned in here, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna start adding my other ingredients. I've got a 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes. Now, I often use crushed tomatoes, but in this case, this brand of chopped tomatoes is not too far from crushed. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. If you can't find crushed tomatoes in the San Marzano, the next best thing is just to get a can of whole peeled tomatoes and run through a blender. You know, because I'd much rather do that than just get, you know, your off the shelf, you know, budget crushed tomatoes. I didn't used to believe that there was a difference in them until somebody said, try them. I did, you know. And as the old Alka-Seltzer ad said, try it, you'll like it. I did, and I've been using it whenever I can ever since. All right, now I've got 2 bouillons. This is 2 beef bouillons. And I've got a couple of teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now I doubt that was in Chef Alvini's original recipe. You know what? I kind of like it in there. So I'm going to put a half teaspoon of thyme and a half teaspoon of oregano, dried, and probably a couple of teaspoons of just granulated sugar. So let's go ahead and let's put these in. Let's let the flavors meld. All right. Give it a couple minutes here to meld. I'll be right back. All right, everything seems to have, you know, they're melding together well. Now, it's time we put in our last few ingredients. And what I'm doing is I'm going to put in about between 2 and 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And I'm going to put in, probably about a half to 2/3 cup of dry red wine. And what I'm using for this is pretty much anybody that's been following this series know I'm a home winemaker, so this is just some of my dark red blend that I make. And it turns out real good. You can use any kind that you want. A Zinfandel, a Cabernet, a Pinot Noir. You know, all of those would work very, very good. One more time. Very good. I'm going to forego any more salt right now, but I am going to put in just a little bit more pepper. And I'm going to put in a couple, 3 bay leaves. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take it off wattage, and I'm just going to turn it on about 180 degrees, you know, and let this kind of high simmer for a while. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this simmer for about an hour or so, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have a taste and see how it is. If it's done to the point where we like it, then we're going to go ahead and make our pasta. So anyway, I'll see you in about an hour. Don't go far. I know you want to come back. I sure want you to come back too. All right, welcome back. It's been about an hour and this has been simmering nicely. So let's go ahead and give it a taste and see what it tastes like. To me, it has a very, very rich, beefy and tomatoey taste, but I kind of think it needs a little more Italian herb. And remember, I put a little thyme and oregano in there. And I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little chopped basil. All right. And I'm going to go ahead, and this won't need to simmer very long. I'm thinking just enough to kind of get the flavors together in there. And then let's take a taste of that. I think we'll be fine. We'll pull the bay leaves out, and at that point I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this over on the stove, keep it warm, and we're going to start making our pasta. So I'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, it's been about another 15-20 minutes, and let's go ahead and let's see what our basil did. That made a world of difference. It really did. Made all the difference in the world. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take our Bolognese sauce and I'm going to take it over to the stove where I can keep it warm, and I'm going to I've got some water over there kind of simmering. We're going to bring that over, let it boil, and we're going to put our pasta in there. So all right, now we're going to go ahead, and this is about ready to boil. I've kept it over there hot. Well, as soon as it does, we'll put in our pasta, and when it's done, we'll be ready to plate. And after that, the best part comes when we get to taste it. So I'll be right back when it boils. Okay, our water's boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little salt to this, and I'm going to add some olive oil, and that just kind of helps it keep from sticking together. And let's go ahead, let's put our pasta in. All right, we're going to let it come back up to a boil here, and we're going to let it boil for about 10 to 12 minutes, and that doesn't mean it's going to be done, but that means we're going to check it at that time. So no need to make you just sit there at attention while I do that. I'll shut the camera off, and I'll be back in probably 12 minutes. Of course, to you it's only going to be a second, so don't go far. Okay, our pasta's done and our sauce is done. So what do we have left to do? That's right, plate. So let me go over and grab a little bit of the pasta. Okay, now you notice, and I'm going to put this under the detail camera as well. You notice that I like using this wider pasta. And could you use spaghetti with this? Oh, absolutely. Could you use elbow macaroni with it? Absolutely. But this is one of the things I really like about this, is just going ahead and using some of the wider pasta with the egg noodles. And also, could you go ahead and use the same egg noodles you use for tuna noodle? Sure you could. Any pasta would be fine with this. So, all right, let's go ahead and now let's go ahead and plate. Now I want to put a little Parmesan cheese. Over the top of it. And let's garnish it with a little basil there. So let me go ahead and once again put this under the detail camera. And there we have beef bolognese. It looks like a spaghetti sauce, but it's not as tart and as tangy as a marinara or spaghetti sauce. The bolognese sauce is a very, very mild sauce where you actually taste all the different ingredients. A lot of it, like the spices are in the background, but the Italian herbs are present, as is the beef. And the beef is actually front and center, which is the way you want it. Yeah. So here again, we've got a good one. To me, it's a winner. So I'd like to ask you to try this, see how you do. Please, leave me a note, give me a comment, send me a message at chefrdmiller@att.net. Tell me how you did. I'm always interested in knowing how my viewers do. So, anyway, once again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your taking your time to watch my videos. For heaven's sakes, subscribe. And if you have a friend that's interested in cooking, ask them to subscribe as well. Give a thumbs up. And as always, God bless. Remember, cooking should always be fun. And I look forward to seeing you next episode. Bye for now.